I be statistics. Formula choke.
Until they customer confused.
Serious something we suppose don't start.
I don't understand. Buddha. God, come on, I'll catch you. Come on, I'll catch you. I said, go Buddha. Say no. If I move. You know that before, once like we complain for this, and we don't do so now.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, good evening. Just type I can hear you in the comment section. Okay, so can you see my screen? Can you see my screen? I need to know if you guys can see my screen so that we'll kick off. Okay, I'm seeing some comments now. Yes, we can. Okay, so this is officially the first day of the financial masterclass organized by the vice president and the financial secretary. So first of all, before we delve into the design class, AK Amazing Laughter, you must have seen my bio, a 300 level nursing student, and I'm a graphic designer. So I've been a graphic designer for 3-4 years now. Okay, that aside, before we go into what we have for today, I want you all to know that, okay, this class is like, I want to prep your minds for this class. This class is a class that people actually pay to come to. This is a kind of class that people pay, like you see people paying 10,000 to learn. Like when I learned graphic design, I think I paid about, that was I think 7,000 or 10,000 to learn. So your executives have brought well-seasoned people. Like, I'm going to do graphic design today, another day someone is going to take LinkedIn optimization, another day someone is going to do content creation. So your executives, your vice president, and your financial secretary have brought seasoned people to teach you. So I want you to come to this class with a heart open to learn, a mind open to learn. That is, you are receptive to knowledge. You are ready to learn, right? So if you can still hear me at this point, I want you to type in the chat box, I am receptive to knowledge. I am receptive to knowledge. I want to see it in the chat box. Yes, Udochukwu, you are receptive to knowledge. Yes. Let's keep the energy. Type it in the chat box. I am receptive to knowledge. Yes. Okay, so it is now 8:05. And we are going to begin. First of all, I would still, just to confirm, can you guys still see my screen? Can you see my screen? Okay. You can see my screen. Okay. Now, let's begin. So, we are going to be looking at graphic design. Graphic design is a skill that in Nigeria, it is a skill that can give you the millions that you want. Yes, I said it without missing words. Graphic design can give you the millions that you want, but it requires diligence. It requires consistency. It requires a lot of hard work from you. Now, when I started designing graphics, when I started designing flyers and all that, I didn't know anything about graphics. Like, I just thought flyers were just, they go to the computer, they just slap on one shape, they just slap on one circle here, triangle there, something there, and you have this beautiful flyer. I didn't know the whole process it took, or rather the whole process it takes to actually do a flyer, to actually design a flyer. Now, let me show you guys some graphic works. Flyers like these now might have taken up to 2 hours of brainstorming. I know, right? Like, you'll be like, no be design where they do waiting, they brainstorm again. But then in graphic design, there is a lot done behind the scenes. That is not just the flyer you are seeing, there is not just the logo you are seeing, there is not just that infographic you are seeing, there is not just that invitation card you are seeing. There is a lot that was done. Now, let's go into it. What is graphic design? So, graphic design is the art of composing visual elements such as typography, images, colors, and shapes to communicate information or convey a message effectively. Now, let's take this one by one. Graphic design is the art of composing visual elements. What are visual elements? You have typography, images, you have colors, you have shapes, you have form, line. There are many of them. Now, the aim is the next thing. The aim is to communicate information. So, any design that you do that doesn't communicate information clearly, you have not done your job as a graphic designer. That is one thing I want you to know. In every design you do, you must communicate something clearly. That is something that when you show someone this flyer and you ask the person, so from this flyer, like I'm using a flyer for example, from this flyer, what do you see? The person will tell you, okay, so from this flyer is telling us that we should come for this event, it's telling us that we should come for so dinner night. You see that you have actually done your work as a graphic designer. You have conveyed a message that there is a dinner night. That's the first thing. Now, that's not all. You are conveying this message effectively, and conveying the message effectively now has to do with how long did it take to convey this message. Like, when someone looks at a flyer, okay, first glance, then you ask the person, what what's the flyer talking about? The person is like, wait, let me go and even look for it. As a graphic designer, you have failed, because I will still teach you more on this later on. The main aim is that flyer is for a dinner night. So if the person looks at it and the first thing the person sees is not dinner night, then there is an error in the design. That is it. Now, graphic designers create visuals to convey specific messages to an audience, whether it is for a company's brand identity, a website's user interface, or a product's packaging. For example, that's okay, let me use Indomie. All of us know Indomie. Yes. The Indomie packaging, that thing was something that was in a computer before you are seeing that physical yellow and red Indomie packaging. It is something that someone sat down, drafted out, designed on a computer, and then it was now printed out and you are seeing it. Okay, I'm sure that Indomie, if we are going too far, let's use events that are going on in school. For example, this financial masterclass now. The flyer of this financial masterclass, it is something that someone sat down, someone thought about how would I design this financial masterclass to actually tell these people that radiography is organizing this, radiography is doing this. Someone sat down to think of it and did that. So that in its essence is graphic design. Now let's move on to the types of graphic design. First of all, we have brand and visual identity design. Now, what is brand and visual identity design? This is when you talk about logos. Yes, you talk about logos. You talk about some product packages. You talk about brand guidelines. For example, let me show you a part of a brand identity design now. Yes, this is the Nauratsa logo. This alone is a logo, but this now with other things that are telling you, like what do I mean by brand guidelines? Brand guidelines is like someone will tell you, okay, in this Nauratsa logo, you should not change the color to blue. It is only yellow. Yellow is our color. That is a guideline. So it means that in all your design that you are designing with this logo, it must retain this yellow and black color. You shouldn't have blue, you shouldn't have red, no other color, just yellow. That is just a little bit of what brand identity is like. Now, let's move on. Brand design work includes, but is not limited to, designing logos, as I said, and setting clear guidelines for how to use them, like I explained now. Now, designing letterhead, icons, and various illustrations. Those letterheads you see from the office of the president, Student Association Government, that is SAG. Those letterhead was designed by someone, and it is all under brand and visual identity design. Now, brand and visual identity design also has to do with selecting brand colors and setting clear guidelines for their use. For example, the colors of radiography are red. Sorry, I said red. No, not red. Sorry. Are yellow, black, and white. Those are radiography colors. If you notice it, even in all flyers you see radiography in Anambra State, yellow, black, and white. Radiography in Abuja, yellow, black, and white. Radiography in Lagos, yellow, black, and white. That is the brand color. So in anything you are doing that is radiography related, it should have that yellow, black, and white in the logo. Now the next is creating or selecting fonts and typography guidelines. Now, there are some designs you see fonts that look like they are handwritten, like cursive. Then there are some you see fonts that are just long, they're like elongated. There are some you see is like they are slanted. All those things are all under brand and visual identity design. Picking a particular font for a brand. For example, let me still use this radiography logo. This Nauratsa that was written here, that's Nnamdi Azikiwe University radiography students. If you notice, you would see that it is the same font that was used for Nnamdi Azikiwe University radiography students that was used for the acronym Nauratsa. Okay, someone said the image is not clear. Sorry about that. That would be network. let's just pray that network is on our side today. Now, moving on. I hope you guys can still see my screen. Let me know. Please, comment in the chat box. Can you see my screen? I'm not seeing any comments. Can you see my screen? Okay. You can see my screen. Let's move on now. Now, creating templates that follow the brand guidelines and that marketing, growth, and other teams can use. Templates, example of a template is a logo. Let's not go too far. Example of a template is a logo. And now you see that Naurasa logo that was created, it has been used in the financial masterclass flyer. When your executives were doing their campaign for elections, you see the logo there. In your letterhead, you will see that same logo. So that is like a template that has been created. That this template symbolizes Radiography Unizik. That is, this logo is for Radiography Unizik. Anyway, you see this logo, you already know that Nnamdi Azikiwe University Radiography Students Association has something here. Anyway, you see that logo. That is it. Now, another is packaging design and graphics for product design. I've explained this when I said that the Indomie packaging you are seeing was designed, and it is all brand identity. If you notice, Indomie packaging, they are always similar. That is brand identity design in products and packaging design. Now, the next is web design. Let's not waste much time because we need to practicalize this. While many graphic artists design visual elements for brand websites, it's important to note that web design is not the same as graphic design. That's web design as an umbrella term now is not the same as the web design I'm talking about now. The general web design that you know has to do with creating a website. That is not what we are looking at. What we are looking at is creating the visuals of the website. That is, web designers now work on projects including creating icons and buttons. That is, that search icon you are seeing on Google was created by was designed by a graphic designer. Yes. Creating various interactive design elements on a website. You know, sometimes there are some logos you would see, not logos, sorry. There are some websites you would see, like when you go to Google. Sometimes if you go to Google during Christmas period, you will see that it's as if the Google logo has Christmas trees and all that. That thing was designed by a graphic designer. It was done by a graphic designer. Yes. Now, optimizing visual elements for all devices. Now, we all know this one, that there are some websites you want to use. They will tell you that you should use this website in desktop mode. And you will switch it to desktop mode, and then the website, nothing will cut off. It will still retain its content, but then in a different orientation, in a different pattern. That is the work of a graphic designer. For you to rearrange text from portrait to landscape to a circular picture, things like that. Now, they work with web developers. These are the people that create the website. Yeah, graphic designers work with them to create user experience, to create a very good user experience, user interface. Like, okay, let me explain user interface for those that don't understand. User interface is basically what an app looks like. Like when you open WhatsApp, you already know that, okay, you see WhatsApp written on the top. You would see a three dots by the right hand side. You would see people's contacts, that's your chats in the center. Then when you go down, you would see calls, you will see status and all that. That is basically user interface. That is just what it looks like when people look at it. Now, the next type of graphic design, marketing design. Marketing design uses guidelines and messaging set by brand designers. Now, you see, these are specialties in graphic design. This is like when you finish, let me say you're a medical student. Let me use medicine. you finish medicine, you finish studying medicine. Yes, you're a doctor, yes, MBBS and all that. You're rejoicing. But then you see some people go further. They say they want to do renal. They want to go into renal. Some people tell you that they want to go into gynecology. Some people tell you they want to go into cardiology. Like, it's just different specialties within graphic design. But then in some cases you still see a gynecologist working together with a cardiologist. These are different specialties, but then they still work together. Now, that is also how it is in graphic design. We have different specialties, but all of them still work together. Now, marketing designers, they use guidelines and messages set by the brand designers. That is, the people the brand identity designers. Yes, the guidelines set by them to create messages for a single campaign. Then marketing designs can include social media campaigns, email marketing campaigns, newsletters, billboards, and other signage. So you now see that someone is in charge of creating the logo. Let me use logo. Someone is in charge of creating the logo, but then another person is in charge of using that logo to create a newsletter, using that logo to create a billboard, using that logo to create a poster. Another person does that, and that person is a marketing designer. Now, marketing designers, you can also call them advertising designers, because most of the works they do, or in fact all the works they do, are basically centered on advertisements. That is, when you are on your phone and then you see those ads that pop up sometimes, you see some flyers on the ads, like after the ad is finishes playing, you see a particular flyer. That thing was done by a graphic designer. That flyer was done by a graphic designer, and most likely it is a marketing graphic designer. Now, next is illustration designer. Okay, what are illustration designers? Now, yes, we can remember seeing children's books. Like, which book? I'm trying to remember a book I can use now. Okay, yes, let me say cartoons. Yes, cartoons, exactly. Let me say cartoons. The title of cartoons, sometimes you see that it is so playful. You see some children's book that they are teaching them how to say A, B, C, D, and all that. Like, the A to Z is looking so playful. The whole design, the whole cover of the book is looking so playful. You are seeing red, green, yellow, different colors. That design is done by an illustration designer. Now, what do illustration designers do? Illustration designers, their design is mostly, they combine different elements of design, like shapes, mostly shapes and colors, to create stuff like children's books, t-shirts, and other things. For example, there are some times that you would buy a shirt. Yes, there are sometimes you would buy a shirt, and then you see this kind of design on the shirt. Like, when you saw that design on the shirt, you're like, God, I too like this design, guy. I did buy this thing. That design was probably done by an illustration designer. And most times you see that you don't actually understand what the design is about. Sometimes you don't actually understand what the design is about. But it's so fine. It's so fine. You do, God, you just like it. But you say you don't know what the thing be, but you just like them. That is like how illustration design is. Now, moving on to the next, we have type design. Now, type design or typography design, you can call it typography design, is basically creating custom lettering. For example, the fonts, if you look at these types of design now, these first types and the second type is not the same thing. They are two different fonts. These fonts were created by type designers. Yes. Now, what type designers do is to create fonts. That is why some fonts you see that this one is bolder than the other one. This one is kind of curvy. Then the other one is just like as if it's square. This one is like rounded in the edges, while this one is kind of very artistic. I like this one is artistic. All those things you are seeing were created by type designers. Now, the next, motion design. Now, motion design is basically bringing design to life. It's not just that 2D you are seeing. It's not just that paper you are seeing. Now, there are some advertisements you see that is as if someone is running and then suddenly the person jumps and turns into the logo of the brand. Those were done by motion graphic designers. Like, there's some you see, it will be as if a circle is bouncing and the next thing the circle turns to a colorful flamingo, something like that. It is done by a motion graphic designer. Now, don't confuse this with video creators. Video creators are very different. Motion graphic design mostly has to do with just simple animation. Let me put it that way. Simple animation, as in not the type where you have to film people and everything. In motion graphics, they mostly do not even use people. They mostly use shapes, icons, that is elements of graphic design. We'll treat the elements later on. They use elements of graphic design to create animations. They do not use people. Yes, that is just to clear your mind on that. Don't confuse them with video creators. Now, the next, user interface design. We have said something little about user interface design when we talked about web design. Now, these user interface designers, they work closely with web designers to create the interface of apps, like I explained before, like WhatsApp. Now, you ask, what is the difference between a user interface designer and a web designer? A web designer looks into things like the icons that would be used in the a web designer looks into like the icons that would be used in the logo and how they will be used. Yes. Then a user interface designer, his own is just to design the icon. Like the user interface designer just designs the icon like that. Just is like, okay, let me explain this further and explain it better. It is like designing a paper. The user interface designer designs it like a paper, kind of. You know when you just draw something on a paper, when you just draw a circle and then shade that circle, that is how user interface designers just do it. They just design it and leave it. Then the web designer can actually combine motion design into web design and then make that icon look like, sometimes there are some websites you go to, it will be like something just swelled from the center and became bigger, enlarged, and like maybe went to the side, or when you swipe up, the maybe a shape just slides to the side. Now that is what a web designer does. A web designer, his own is to know how that shape would go from the left to the right and all that. Now, a textile and surface design. This one is very simple. These are designs that have to do with the ones we see on our Ankara, some of our Ankara fabrics. Some of your Ankara fabrics, or most safe, are not tie and dye. They are designs done in a computer and then given to textile companies, and it is replicated like what you are now seeing as the Ankara. The graphic designer just mixes of inspiration and all that and designs one very beautiful thing and then sends it to a textile company, and then this textile company now prints it into the designs that you are seeing. I hope you are still following. If you're following, please comment in the chat box that you are following. Comment. I can't see anyone's comment. I need to know that you are still following. Okay. Now, moving on. We have spent much time on this, so I wouldn't really dwell on them again. Packaging design. Packaging design is basically from food to gadgets to designer jewelry. These packages, those packages you see of the package of every product you are seeing in the market today was done by a graphic designer. That's just a simple explanation for this. Every product design, every product package you are seeing, that design was done by a graphic designer. That is just it. That is just what package design is. There are some people that are specialized in just creating designs for packages. They don't do flyers or all that. They just create designs for packages. Finish. That is packaging design. Now, infographics. Infographics basically has to do with the use of text, images, charts to convey a message effectively. For example, when you talk about bar charts, yes, an example is bar charts. An example is a pie chart. An example is a histogram. You see that to show that something is low, it will be red. Yeah. For example, let me use forex trading. The forex traders in the house, hello. Now, in forex trading, you see that some are green, some are red. Now, that was done by a graphic designer actually. Yes. Now, that is just, they use different visual elements. Sometimes you see that the line will be so smooth, sometimes it will be so wriggly. All that is part of infographic design. Now, that is just from the name infographics. That is information graphics. Their own aim is just to pass a particular information across. Yes, pass a particular information about something across. Now, let's look into the elements of graphic design. First is form. Form refers to the positive elements over the space of your work. Together with space, it creates a three-dimensional effect. 3D objects include pyramids, cubes, and other abstract forms. You can make a 3D effect by using shadows, color, and overlaid objects. Now, form is sometimes interchangeably used with another design element. However, they are slightly different. The form is mostly 3D and more realistic, while the shape is two-dimensional and flat. Now, what does this mean? Okay, let me look for something like that. Now, this is it. Look at this flyer. When you look at this crown, yes, this crown, the crown looks like it's a real crown that somebody just snapped and puts there. Now, that is what we mean by form. It's mostly the 3D parts of your design. Now, let me look for something else too. Yes, another aspect of form is shadows. Now, look at this shape. You look at this. When you look at this white place, you'll see that there's this like black color underlying it. That is a shadow. Now, that is all under form. Let's move on. The next we have is shape as an element of graphic design. Now, each shape in a design actually has its purpose. So, this is one thing that a lot of people mistake. Shapes are not just put in flyers like that. Each shape has its purpose. Now, see circle. Circle is a geometric shape. Circle makes an information come across as soft. It has a mild feeling attached to it, and it commonly represents eternity according to this. Now, this is just a little of what circle is about, not everything. I will not dwell on it because we really need to do practicals and our time is going. Now, moving on to square. Square shapes are formed by straight lines. That is, 4 straight lines form a square. We all did it in primary school now. Now, square gives this sense of reliability and security. That is why if you have actually taken your time to look at flyers, you will notice that most flyers that have to do with all this cryptocurrency, banking, or stuff like that, they mostly use squares. Yes, they mostly use squares. And then sometimes the squares will be rounded on the sides. That is, let me show you what I mean by a rounded square. This is a rounded square. The edges are not sharp, the edges are just rounded. Now, that is combining a circle and a square to give the sense of reliability and at the same time a calm and mild feeling. That is it. Now, triangle. A triangle is a polygon with 3 edges and 3 vertices. We know that. and it's commonly defined as an energetic and dynamic shape. So, and you see that triangles are used to attribute motion or direction. Now, when you want to show maybe the location of something on a flyer, maybe you're designing, let me say you are designing a poster for an event, and then you want people to know that this event is actually happening in these streets, that they need to turn right. You would see that in the design, there would be a triangle. We call it an arrow now. There would be an arrow pointing right. That arrow is a triangle. Yes, look at an arrow very well. It is actually a triangle that is doing that job of direction. Now, we move on to natural shapes. Natural shapes, organic shapes, represent elements from nature, and we can see them in the real world as animals, flowers, trees, or leaves. And these shapes aren't formed by angles or points. Now, natural shapes are not like the shapes that you just see that are just round. Yes, let me see if I can find a natural shape here. Yes. Look at this. Look at this logo. It is actually a natural shape. This logo now, you can see that it kind of looks like as if it's a flower, kind of. Like, if you look at it very well, you will see that it looks like it's a flower. Now, that's what natural shape is like. Moving on to the next, we have abstract shapes. These are shapes that you cannot really say. When, like, there are some shapes that when you look at them, you're like, which shape now we go call this one? Because this one resemble triangle for this side, but then this side it can't resemble circle, it can't resemble rectangle for this side. There's some shapes that you see that there's actually no name for them. They are just there. It's just like, and that thing will be like there are sometimes that you see some shapes and when you are describing it to someone, you're like, that thing is just like a circle that they drew there. You're just saying it's just like a circle, but it doesn't really look like a circle. It doesn't really look like a square either. It's just there, and it doesn't really look like anything that you are seeing naturally. It doesn't look like a leaf. It doesn't look like anything. It's just a random thing. Now, let me see if I can find anything like that. Otherwise, we move on. Oh, I couldn't see that. We'll move on. Now, the next element is line. Under line, we have straight line, we have curved line, short line, long line, thin line, thick line. Lines play different roles in graphics. For example, lines can, like a straight line can be used for demarcation. Yes, a thick line can be used when you want to show that an information in a flyer is very crucial. A zigzag line can be used when you want to just like decorate, or you can decorate a text, or you can still use it to highlight important information. Spiral lines can be used in backgrounds to make the background look a lot less boring. Let me use the word boring. Yes, now that is just line in graphic design. Now the next is color. As you can see, this is a color wheel. Color plays a very crucial role in graphic design because colors evoke feelings. Some of us are medical students here, we know it. Colors evoke feelings. There's some colors that you see that you sense danger, like red. That is why stop signs are red, so that your eye is immediately attracted to it. That is why there are some designs that you see that they use, like, when you just like turn your head, like maybe you were not really looking at the design, you just turn your head to look at something else, but then the design, something will catch your attention in that design. It is actually color playing a role. It might have been a red color, a very sharp color that was used, or even sometimes it can be black. But then there are some situations where black is used and it will attract you. We'll still talk about that when we do visual concepts. Now, yellow, let's talk about what each color means. Yellow symbolizes happiness, warmth, optimism, creativity, intellect, extrovert, caution, anxiety, and all that. Now, orange, energy, warmth, friendliness, courage, confidence, frustration, immaturity. It depends on how it is used. You see that frustration, you'll be like, so how can a color that is symbolizing confidence and courage be also symbolizing frustration? Like, how does that work? Now, that depends on the usage of the color. There are colors that you pair with colors and they exude a feeling. Like when you pair purple with gold, it exudes this royal feeling. Like, you're like, this is like luxury. Like when you see a flyer that is purple and gold, you know that this one are luxury, something like that. Then red, power, passion, energy, excitement, anger, pain. Yes. If you have seen some of these flyers for drugs, like pain relievers, like when you see them advertising ibuprofen or paracetamol, you see that they use red to actually symbolize that place where the person is holding his back. Yes, that is the use of color in graphic design. Now, another is pink. Pink is for imagination, transformation, passion, creativity, balance, and all that. Now you see that as we are going, some of these colors, the meanings are similar. For example, pink shows creativity. Pink shows creativity, yes, and yellow too shows creativity. So you can see that if you don't want to use pink, you can use yellow. That is that is just it. Now there are a lot of colors. There are more than 200 colors in the world. So if we start talking about each of the colors, we will not go today. Let me just run through the remaining ones. Green shows health, nature, prosperity, growth. Teal shows clarity, calm, communication, inspiration. Blue shows trust, logic, loyalty, security. That is why blue was used for the financial masterclass logo. You are using it to gain financial security. Hey, like, okay. So you see that blue was used in the financial. If blue is just the whole highlight of the flyer, let me bring the flyer. Now, it was used to show financial security. It's showing you security. It's showing you trust. It's showing you loyalty, logic. This is a class that you should not miss. This is a session you should trust. Now we move on to purple. Purple shows wealth, luxury, as I said, wisdom, royalty. Yes. Now move on to the next element of graphic design. We have texture. Texture refers to the appearance and quality of a surface. Like there are some designs that you see, the texture is as if it's grainy. Like it's giving these vibes of olden days TV. Kind of. It's not really clear. Then there's some that you see that the texture is just so smooth. It's giving you the vibes as if it's a smooth surface. Then there's some that you see the texture is like an illusion. The texture is like as if you look too long, you would fall into the design. That's just the use of texture. This explains texture. Now, typography. Typography has to do with the font you are using in your flyer. The font matters a lot. For example, this financial masterclass flyer, if I had used a font that is like cursive, that is a decorative font to write financial masterclass, it might look fine, but then it will be looking somehow in your eye. Like there's some designs that you see, you'll be like, I don't even know what is wrong in this design, no, but something is just looking somehow. It can be a wrong font was used. Yes. Now, types of fonts. We have serif fonts. That is, serif fonts have small lines and then they have flourishes at the end. These are like edges at the end and makes them appear traditional and elegant. Now you see this in some designs for all these beauty brands. Like let me bring, okay, now this is a flyer I did. This is a clothing brand. Yes, Unique Wears. She's a tailor. She sews clothes. Now this is a serif font. You see those edges in N, you see it in Q, you see it in W, you see it in all the letters. Now, moving on, we have sans serif fonts. I'll still use this flyer to explain that. Sans serif fonts are the ones that are more modern. It looks more modern. It doesn't have all those edges. For example, when you look at our services, it's just O, it's just a round, then the U is just round. It doesn't have any edge or any little design on it. You look at Contact Us, you look at the things she sells, school uniforms and all that. It is just rounded. It doesn't have anything. Look at another example. See this Gospel In and Out of Season. It is just there. It doesn't have any edges or any added decoration. Those are sans serif fonts. And then the next you have is script fonts. Now, script fonts are those ones that are like decorations, that are like cursive. Let me use the word cursive. For example, yes, using this financial masterclass flyer, look at bonuses. This bonuses is an example of script font. You look at it, it's like someone just used pen to write that bonuses. That is exactly what script font is. It's like a script. It's like you're writing. Now the next is display fonts. Display fonts are usually kind of very bold, and they're used for headlines or titles. Like when you see newspapers, these are the kinds of fonts that are mostly used for newspapers, the headings. Like when you see the Times or which other newspaper, Sun, I've forgotten the name, this one, Dailies and all that. You see that this is the kind of fonts they use. They are called display fonts because they immediately attract the attention of the viewer. Now, the next we'll move on to space. Now, space has to do with allowing your design to breathe. Let your design breathe. Like there's some designs that you see that is so clustered that at some point if you don't even want to read again because the whole thing is just so clustered. A very good usage of space is this. Now when you look at this, you see that there was nothing in this white, all this white background, there was nothing there. It's just plain. Now that's the use of space because it will attract your attention that okay, it is financial masterclass. Oh, and then it's day one. Okay, graphic design. And then this one is just like something they used to decorate it down. Like you can easily distinguish between the elements. Yes, that is the essence of space. For your design to breathe, that is for your design to look good, and then for it to distinguish between elements. Now we move on to visual concepts. If you are still following, type it in the chat box, visual concepts. Please, let's be fast. You know, we are working with time here. Type it in the chat box, visual concepts. Are we sleeping? I'm not seeing anyone typing visual concepts in the chat box, so okay. Edward Moses, Sanibaka, yes, you guys are active. Worldwide Entertainment, okay. Success Points, Onyechi, Omi, okay. Now let's move on. Visual concepts. The first is balance. As the name is balance, try to balance the things in your design. Don't come and carry circle and put on top of the rectangle and put on top of this one. Like everything is just looking so big. Like it's not really, you cannot really distinguish between elements. Now, what is balance? Balance is the distribution of visual weight in a design. Visual weight is basically the ability of you to use your eyes to distinguish elements in a design. That's to distinguish that okay, this one is blue, visual concept, this one is balance, this one is balance, is the distribution. That is basically what balance is all about. You can use fonts for this, you can use colors for this. Now in graphic design, there's something I didn't mention. Elements and visual concepts work together to create that seamless flyer you are seeing. Yes. Now the next is contrast. Contrast is the difference between elements in color, size, shape, texture that makes them to stand out. For example, when you look at this now, you are seeing that the background is white. Then, to show contrast, I used black to write contrast. Then I used blue as a background for visual concept so that it will stand out on its own in a design. Yes, that is the use of contrast. Use of contrast in colors. Let me use colors for example. Use of contrast in colors is using white on a black background, using white on a blue background, that is a dark blue background, using white on a dark background, or using black on a very light and bright background. Now in contrast, you cannot come now as the background is white, you are using a very light ash or light gray. You are using light gray for it. It's like you won't be able to read it. Or you are using yellow to write on a white background. Like for you to read it, sometimes you have to zoom to see it. That's all about contrast. Now another is emphasis. Emphasis highlights the most important part of a design so the viewer notices it first. Now let's move on to this flyer. Now in this financial masterclass flyer, you see that emphasis is just as I made this financial masterclass to be bold. It is the boldest. If you look through the whole flyer, you see that it is the boldest thing in the flyer. Then the next is the date and the time. That is the background used for the date and the time. They are the two boldest things in this design. They are the two things that you will notice first when you look at it. Now this is a good use of emphasis. Now the next is movement. Movement guides the viewer's eyes through a design in a deliberate path. This can be achieved with lines, shape, repetition, or directional elements that lead the gaze from one point to another. Let me still use a very beautiful flyer. When you look at this, the first thing you see is financial masterclass. And then the next thing that for some people, the next thing you would look at is the next blue background. That is the date and the time. For some people, the next thing you see is graphic designing, video editing. And then when you look, you now see the pictures. So that is basically the use of movement. That is, I'm using colors to actually guide your eyes, as in look at this one first before you look at this. For example, let me use this too. You look at this, you see my growth as a believer. That's the first thing you are seeing. Then the next thing that you will now see is Okofia. That is the location, not even the Okofia, it is the location icon that you will see next. So that is the use of a good use of movement in a design. Now the next is proportion. Proportion refers to the size or the relationship between elements. Correct proportion makes a design look natural and unified. Now, a use of proportion is this: redeemed for dominion. Just imagine that this redeemed now was as bold as this dominion, and then the 4 was also as bold as the dominion. You see that if you actually place it how this design is now, like redeem is bold as dominion and 4 is as bold as dominion, then team 2 is bold like dominion, the design will not just, like, it will look so tattered, it won't look really nice, it won't look really visually appealing. Now that is the use of proportion. Let's size down elements. For example, look at this flyer. I wasn't the one that did this, I saw it online. Handing over, it is over is bold, then 9th December is bold, then this Concrope Central Church is bold too. That is the use of proportion. You don't, everything doesn't have to be the same size in your design. Some things need to be small. Important information needs to be bold. Then the ones that are just like supporting details can now be smaller. That is the use of proportion. Now the next is rhythm. Rhythm is the visual beat or the flow created by repeating elements like lines, shapes, or colors. It creates a sense of organized movement, helping the eye to travel smoothly across the design. Now, all this English. Let me show you an example of rhythm. An example of rhythm is this. If you notice, all the pictures were square. Repetition of the shape square. Yes, that is, it makes this design look organized. Now imagine that this one was square, this was circle, this was square, this one was triangle. Like, the design will look so scattered. Like you'll be like, which kind designer designed this thing? Said they need to flog that person. Like, it won't look organized to you. That is the use of rhythm in design. Now another use of rhythm, let me see if I can find one, is this. You see that this football was here, it was repeated here, it was repeated here, it was repeated here. Like, even if you have not really read the content of the flyer, once you look at this, you already know it's a football match because you've seen football. Like, you don't need anybody to tell you that it is a football match. You've already seen the football, you know it's a football match. Then you're seeing that it's repeated, and you know that, okay, it's talking about a football match. Oh, that is basically what rhythm is all about. The use of repetition in a way that makes your design visually appealing. Now, we don't speak all the English finish. We are done with, let me say, the theory aspects of graphic design. Let's now go into the practical aspects. I hope everyone here has downloaded Pixel Lab. I hope you've downloaded Pixel Lab, because we're about to enter practical session now, where you would be seeing it for yourself. You would be seeing how some of these flyers come to life, how these flyers go from ideas and come to life. You would see it. Please, if you are ready, type "I am ready." If you are ready, type "I am ready." Like, I need to see the energy. Are we sleeping? Yes. Sanipaka can't wait. Edon Moses is ready. Yes. Udochukwu, you are ready. Blessing, you are ready. Yes. Onyechi, you are ready. Yes, this is what I like to see. Now, let us go to Pixel Lab. This is Pixel Lab. Yes, this. Now, this is what I believe this is what you would see when you open Pixel Lab for the first time. This is what you should see. Now, I will just guide you through some of the parts of Pixel Lab. Yes. Now, who can tell me the type of design, the aspect of graphic design that this view of Pixel Lab falls into? The first person, I have a gift for the person. That is, when you look at Pixel Lab, what type of design, what category of graphic design does it fall into? That is, this whole look it has, this whole interface it has, what category of graphic design does it fall into? The first person, I have a gift for you. I'm waiting. No, Edward Moose is not branding and flyer. I said, what category of design does the interface of Pixel Lab belong to? Yes, user interface design. Onyechi Nwobodo. Yes, please, Onyechi Nwobodo, DM the financial secretary after this session. Yes, DM her so that you would get your gift. Yes, I would pass it across through her. Don't forget, or if you forget, now you lose. Now, let's move on. Now, this is Pixel Lab. This is what you will see. These three icons here is a menu bar in Pixel Lab. It is for you to, you see, use image from gallery, full screen, use image from camera, export image, and all that. Now, this is to share your design. That is to save your design. This is to show grid lines. Yes. Now this is to show every element of your design, every part of your design. Now you can see that new text is written here, and you see new text in this place. That is, when you look to your left under Pixel Lab, you see new text. That is the element of the design. Now this is to save your design. You can either save your design as a project, which maybe you edit later, or you save as an image. Now the plus icon is to add text, to add the current date. You see, you can add the current date, to add sticker. There are stickers in Pixel Lab, though most times I don't use them. To add picture from your gallery too. You see, I clicked on from gallery and it opened my gallery. Now this arrow, this backward arrow here, the curved backward arrow, is undo. That is to remove. You can see is undoing everything I have done before. Yes. And this my project is when you have saved projects. Yes, when you have saved projects, that's design you've done before that you might want to edit later on. That is, maybe there might be an error and you want to edit later. You save them there. Now, for our practical today, we are going to be designing the Financial Masterclass flyer. Yes, that is what we are going to redesign. Yes. Let me get the flyer from my gallery. Okay, this is it. Now, for those that don't understand what I did now, I clicked on this plus icon, then go to from gallery. Yes, then you now search for the image you want to paste in Pixel Lab. Now, the image I want to paste, I search for it. Okay, where is it? Is albums. Okay, rat skill acquisition. Okay, now see where the image is. You click on it and then it shows. Maybe if you want to crop it, you can crop it to show only Financial Masterclass. It won't show the top part. You see, it's not showing Financial Masterclass. Now to delete this image, you click on this bin icon just under the plus icon. I don't know if you can see it. This bin icon, click on it and you confirm, it deletes. Now to delete too, you can delete this new text, delete it. Yes. Now this is the flyer we are redesigning. First of all, you can see that this thing is square. It's square now. That's not what we want. This flyer is more like, it's kind of like A4 paper. It's looking like A4 paper. It's not more square. So now you go to these three icons here, then click on image size. I hope we all can see it. If you can see it, type in the comment section in the chat box that you can see it. Can we see it? I need to know. Okay. Edward Moses can see it. Okay. You can all see it. Okay. Now, click on image size. You see that it shows aspect ratio 1:1. But somebody will ask, when did maths enter graphic design? You see that graphic design is not just not just putting one circle and this together. It, like, you have to think. Now, the width we're going to make use of is 1200. You can make use of any width, but to get a 4x3, because this flyer is a 4x3 flyer. Now the next is 1600. That is a 3. Sorry, it's a 3x4 flyer. That is a 3x4. You press OK. You see that it changes to the size. Now, next thing we are going to do is, you see that the background is white. And how do you change this background to be white, man? Like, somebody's thinking, how will I change this background safe to be white? Now, look down in the bottom area, the fourth icon, that is this one that looks like 2 squares on top of each other. Click on it. Then go to color. Click on color. See white. You will see colors here, but any color you don't see here, you click on the plus icon down. That is this plus icon, and then you can now choose any color you want from the color wheel. Yes. Now, is white we are making use of. See white here. You click on white. You see that the background changes immediately to white. Yeah. Click on the good. That is it. Now, the next thing is, if you look at this, you are seeing that there's this picture in the background. Like, look at this picture. It's in the background. It's as if someone is using his laptop. And somebody must be asking, how will I make that picture to appear like this? And then it's as if it now faded and joined the white background. Now, first thing you would do, okay, someone said I should redo that. Okay. Let me redo it. You click on the fourth icon at the bottom. You count 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth one, that is this one, looks like 2 squares on each other. Click on color. Yes. Then you would see different colors that you can choose from. You click on the color you want. This is yellow. If you wanted yellow, this is red. This is pink, black, any color you want. But we are making use of white, so we click on white. You see it changes to white. Yes. Now, back to what I was saying. For the picture, click the same way we brought in this picture of the flyer in our workspace. Is the same way you would bring in the picture of the person on the laptop. Okay, someone is asking, how are we going to do it as you are doing? Okay. Oh my God. You can actually minimize the video chat. Yes, you can minimize it so that it is appearing on Pixel Lab. Like, you can see mine that the video chat is on Pixel Lab. You can minimize it that way so that you can go along with me as I'm doing it. Now, moving on to bringing the picture, we click again on this plus icon that is up. See that plus icon that is in the left hand side of Pixel Lab? That is that one. Click on it, and then you see from gallery. Yes, click on from gallery. It opens your gallery. You see? Now that picture, you just locate it in your gallery. It depends on where you saved your picture. So me, I would locate it where I saved it. Rascal Acquisition. Now this is the picture. This is the picture. Click on OK. Now the picture has shown. The picture has shown. But then you see that the picture is kind of like, it's not fully covering it. Like, you are still seeing some white spaces. Now, to enlarge this picture, there are 2 ways to enlarge a picture. First of all, the first way is through the center. When you look in the bottom area. Oh my god, wow. Wow, okay, let's take a breather. Everybody take a very deep breath. Take a very deep breath. Now, when you look in the bottom area, count first icon, second icon. After A, the next icon that looks like a hexagon, click on it. Now that is it will help you to edit this picture. You see, I'm rotating the picture. I'm just moving the picture around. Now slide and go to relative size. I hope you all can see it. Relative size that has two arrows. You see relative size. Click on relative size. Then you can now click on the plus icon. It will increase the size of the picture. You see, the more I click on the plus icon, the more the picture is increasing in size. Oh my god, you guys are saying you can. Oh god, you're confused. Wow. Okay, you know what? After this session, I would still send a video recording on how to create this flyer. So for now, let's just follow the class. I would send a video recording on how to create this flyer after this session. Yes. So I hope that clears everything, right? Okay, some people are screen recording. Okay, that's nice. You know what? Those that did a screen record after the class, just send it on the group. The group will be opened for you guys, so you send it on the group after the class. Yes. But I will still send the video for those that will say screen record, they don't want to use screen record. I'll still send the video. Yes. Now let's move on. Our time is fast spent. Okay. Now we increase the picture to this size. Now you place it on top. You see that the picture in this financial masterclass is on top. You place it on top like that. You see, it's there now. Then the next thing is that in this financial masterclass flyer, it's as if the thing is not really that clear. It's not very clear. The picture is not very clear, and then it's blended with the white background. Somebody is asking, how do we achieve that? Now I'll show you how to achieve it. Click on that plus icon again on top. You see that this plus icon, we don't use them. So you would keep on using this plus icon till you're done with your design. Yes. Now click on shapes. It automatically brings out a square. When you look down, you will see a square with an arrow by the side. Click on that, you will see different shapes. It just brings out some generic shapes. Now that is the thing about PixelLab. PixelLab doesn't really have a lot of shapes. Like, you know, those shapes that is as if one side is sharp and then the other side is curved and all that. PixelLab doesn't have it. Abidemi said he or she cannot hear me. Please change your location now cause of network, please. Okay. Now let's move on. You see that it has a square, these shapes here. There's a square, there's a circle, a semicircle, an arrow, a triangle. Yeah. Click on the square. This is it. Now you're saying this square is small now, but it cannot cover this whole picture. Now what do? You stretch the square like this. Yeah, look at this. Stretch the square. And what next? You elongate it on every side. You see, you're elongating the square on every side. Yes, elongating it on every side, make it long till it covers everywhere. Now, as you guys can see, it has covered everywhere. For those that don't understand, I will do the whole process again. Click on the plus icon in the left hand side, click on shapes, then with each of these points on the sides of the square, elongate it till it covers everywhere fully. You see, it has covered it has covered everywhere. See, it has covered everywhere. Now you are saying, but it has now covered the picture. It has now covered the picture. How are we going to do it? Yes, the next thing you do is scroll up here. You see full color, go to gradient. Yes, click on the plus icon beside gradient. I'm trying to take this as slowly as I can for those that are having network issues, so I can see it. Click on the plus icon, then you see that it's already in black and white, and you're like, it's not black now that we're working with. Yes, now click on the black color, then the last icon in this row of icons here, the last icon in this row of icons, let me do a screen record so that you guys would actually see it. Now the last icon, that is this one here, click on it. You would see that it took you to where you would bring colors in. Now the color we are working with is circle, and sorry, not circle. The color we are working with is white. Move this to the down part. Yes, move this to the down part. That is, you see, it is changing to white. Now, to know the color you chose, look at the circle on top. You can see that I am tapping on it. Look at that circle on top. It moves to any color that you are currently going to work with. Like, see, it has changed to red. See, it has changed to blue. It has changed to green. It has changed to yellow, like that. It has changed to orange. Now it has changed back to white. Just move this to the end. Now after this, click on OK. You have gotten the white color. Now to get the second one, click on this first. You can see I am clicking on it, on the first down arrow. Then the same process to the color wheel, but then this time you are not just looking for white, you're actually looking for something that would still show that, so that it's not covered that your picture, that picture we put previously. You slide this to down. You see it's reducing the opacity. Now for those that don't know what opacity is basically how transparent the color is. That is opacity. Yes. Someone said the video is stagnant. Please, I need to know. Can you see can you see if I am moving anything currently on my screen now? Can you see if I'm moving anything currently on my screen? And someone said the video paused. Wow. Can you see my screen? Can you still see my screen? Is it still paused? I need to know. You guys cannot see my screen. I have stopped screen recording. No, I'm no more screen recording again. Okay, someone said from when I talked about changing of colors, nothing was showing again. Okay, I'm going to repeat it. Someone said nothing is moving. I am no more screen recording, actually. I'm no more screen recording. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Can you guys see what I'm doing? Can you see my screen now? The person that said please start from the gradient again. I can't do anything if you guys are not seeing my screen. Okay, to stop this. Oh, it's still stagnant. You know what? I would end the streaming and we would all join again. Let's know the issue.